Good morning, namaste, hola, bonjour, and marhaban. This is Namya Joshi, your host for the day. Welcome to the eighth episode of the podcast, Each One Teach 10, an amazing world of STEM, an inspiring venture where we'll be discussing that STEM is part of every day for every kid. We all will learn together how to build a STEM culture. I'm so excited because today's guest is Ms Gunjan Tomar, Activities Coordinator, Learning Support and Social Emotional Learning Facilitator, Gurugram, India. She is a Microsoft Innovative Educator expert and trainer. Her collaborative projects at Microsoft in education program include Gamifying Learning, Instilling Empathy in Classrooms, and Sharpening Socio-Emotional Learning in the classrooms. How are you doing, ma'am?
Thank you, Namya. I am doing fine, Namya, and many congratulations to you for achieving this Pradhan Mantri Rashtriya Bal Puraskar. You are motivation to so many students around the world, and thank you for revolutionizing learning by including the component of gamifying learning in Minecraft. Thank you for motivating the students around. Thank you so much, Vita. I am very happy to be here with you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and it's a pleasure to have you here. And I'm in just in awe knowing about the good work you're doing. But our audience are waited and want to listen from you. Could you please tell us more about yourself?
Certainly, Namya, you have already introduced me. I am Activities Coordinator, Social Emotional Learning and Learning Support Facilitator at DPS International Gurugram. I have been working extensively in the field of social emotional learning. I have been holding workshops as CBSE Resource Person for interdisciplinary learning and various aspects of social emotional learning. And I love teaching and I love to be with children. And I believe that, education is a right for all, and every child should get it.
That's a very motivational belief of yours, ma'am, and I second with you. And it's great to have you here. And you've been working extensively in the field of inclusive education and social and emotional learning. Do you think it is important for STEM education also?
I feel yes, certainly, Namya. As we all know, there are five components of social emotional learning, which are mainly self-awareness, which talks about knowing your emotions and thoughts. Self-management is how you regulate your emotions. If I know my emotions, I know how to regulate them. How I know how to handle them. If I understand my emotions and myself better, I am able to know and empathize with others, and I am able to, the third component is social awareness, which is having the ability to empathize with others. If I know me myself better, I will be able to understand others better, and will be able to empathize with them also better, which helps me in building relationship skills. And all these components help me in, coming or arriving at a responsible decision making. Reason being, when I'm taking any decisions on my behalf, I am keeping myself, I am keeping my community, I am keeping the people of the world in mind before taking any decisions. So my decisions are bound to be responsible decisions. So that is the reason when we talk about any kind of learning, and that too STEM learning, which is an infusion of so many disciplines together. So I think the phrase Maslow before Bloom is very popular in education circle. It is typically used to communicate how humans require their basic needs met first before the academic learning can be fully embraced. So it encompasses all the cell elements, and it's according to Maslow's hierarchy. Physiological safety, love, esteem, and self-actualization needs are the needs that they are the requirement before the academic requirement. And when students have self-esteem issues, teachers see behavioral patterns such as poor focus, disengagement, low on confidence, their efficiency reducing, and many more such kind of patterns. And when students don't feel safe in their communities or the households they are in, So they are in permanent state of alert, which which won't go until and unless the problem is solved. So we can only build academic careers if we know that our students are safe and secure socially as well as emotionally. So cell or social emotional learning is a training for all of us to become lifelong learners and global citizens who love learning and treat the whole world as a place they belong to and care about.
I'm so inspired to hear what you said, and I agree on the 5 points that you told about social emotional learning, where you talked about how we can understand your emotions and thoughts, how that influence your behavior, the ability to regulate your emotions and the behaviors in different situations, and set and work towards goals and make positive choices to take responsibility for work and ability to see the perspective and have empathetic behavior towards others. So I had this question in mind that working in the field of inclusive education, can you help our audience to know that how can we make STEM classrooms inclusive?
That's a very interesting question, Namya, and also a question that we might find challenging in the classrooms to address. Because each learner is a learner of his or his or her own kind, and they have their own learning styles and ways to process information and instructions shared to them. We all are humans, and what makes us human is that we are different from each other, and that is what is something very unique about us. Don't you also feel so?
Yes, ma'am. I truly agree with that because we all have different ways of understanding
Absolutely.
concepts.
And that's the reason we all are unique. Otherwise, we all have been put into the category of being robots, of thinking in the same way and working in the same way. The, di-
Yes, ma'am.
the diversity of the classroom helps each learner to understand the world from various perspectives. Successful inclusive education happens primarily through accepting, understanding, attending to students' differences and diversities, which can also include physical, cognitive, academic, social, and emotional diversities. So I feel, if we design learning engagements with an option of students' voice and choice, it can help in making classrooms with STEM education inclusive. Same learning can happen in different ways. For example, making learning inquiry based and giving options of choices to express students' understanding using the medium of their choice can give voice to each student's learning. And aligning the concept with SDGs help understand the why of learning and empowers them to develop a confidence to contribute towards and to solve real life problems. Imagine each and every child contributing the way he or she understands the concept will make learning so meaningful for them. What do you say?
I'm in. I totally agree with that. And I was so motivated to hear that everyone has a different pace of learning because that's what we see in the classrooms. There are certain students which understand by just seeing the diagram, but there are certain students which will take time. So if we take the choice from the students and not the teachers, it will surely help a lot to make the classroom engagement better, and that's going to bring our country forward. So, what are the modifications required in STEM education which you feel will encourage more students to opt for it, and how can this help?
When we address STEM education as science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, it sounds very, daunting to some of the students, not because of the reason that they don't understand, but at some point of time in their learning journey, while doing these subjects, while learning these concepts, they must have struggled with these concepts, and that kind of fear is there in their mind. To eliminate this kind of fear, and also there is a hype of STEM subjects that STEM subjects are something which are completely out of the world, which also kind of the students who struggle with math concepts or science concept, they find it difficult to engage with, especially when you look into Indian learning scenarios where most of the students are either aspiring to become doctors or engineers or mathematicians. So it becomes a little daunting for the students who are not inclined towards it. But as soon as you add the component of A and R to it, the whole approach of STEM takes a 360-degree turn. When I say A and R to STEM, it becomes stream. And let me tell you how. The component of A refers to language arts and also other art components, and R refers to reading, which I feel reading ability makes learning comprehensible for all. See, the basic idea for learning is to be able to understand, and why students struggle in understanding a concept is also because they are not able to read properly. And when they are not able to read, they are not able to comprehend the information. It doesn't actually is like they cannot do it. It's basically they find reading challenging. So if that is being addressed, so they will be able to establish a connection between their learning and concept alignment with SDGs will also help them uh, understand real life problems in context of the conceptual understanding, using because SDGs are real life things which are happening, solving real life problems. And while many of us try to slot people's talent into sciences and arts, here's an example of Leonardo da Vinci about art integration in STEM. He believed that the two, which is STEM and arts, deeply influenced each other. His scientific studies allowed him to depict the world in deeply naturalistic way, while his artist's eye opened up new ways of looking and thinking about the world. For Da Vinci, the inner working of a machine was just as important as Mona Lisa's smile. So probably that mind of thinking was had come from his understanding of STEM education, and the component of getting into the details what the art component, and the fusion of both had made him such a versatile person uh, uh, in the world of education as well as innovation. So project based learning approach towards the STEM education aids students to establish interdisciplinary connect. And when the component of arts is added to the STEM aspect, what happens, it becomes more approachable kind of thing. Then it is everybody's cup of tea. It is approachable to the people who like science subjects, technology subjects, engineering and mathematics, and it is also becomes approachable to the person who is actually interested in arts, and also the teachers who are in the disciplines of sciences and arts. So they start looking into each other's disciplines or subjects by blurring the boundaries and trying to establish connection, because the world is not compartmentalized into science, technology, engineering and mathematics and arts. World is a wholesome package of all these disciplines. So we need to understand the interdisciplinary connect of these disciplines to be able to make learning and education more meaningful for our students. What are your thoughts on this, Namya?
Yes, ma'am. I agree that we need to create the interdisciplinary learning for this. I wanted to know from you that have you experienced this with your students that like they weren't able to understand first and then you started using STEM learning and then they became more passionate about it. Have you ever
Yeah,
experienced this?
yeah, yeah. My school is an IB school, Namya, where we generally, our approach towards learning is inquiry-based learning, and my students are the students who are into inclusive education. And the moment you remove that stigma of, science and math from it and try to put things into perspective from arts point of view, then I have noticed noticed and I have also seen that they have excelled and they have their understanding has enhanced, and they attempt to contribute towards learning, whereas that fear of sciences at times had restricted them to contribute, reason for the only reason that they might not sound meaningful when they contribute in learning. But the moment you attach the art component of it, the moment you attach the responsibility aspect of learning, so it automatically gives freedom to each and every child to voice his or her understanding. And that is what learning is all about. We might have different perspectives, and it is okay not to agree, and
Yes,
try to
yes,
understand each
I
other's
agree that.
perspective.
It's always not, it's like okay not to agree on something. You should always know how to disagree, because when you have a point in your mind, you should know how to disagree on that, but also know why you're disagreeing and prove your point. So let's come on to the other question which I had for you, that what can be done to make STEM learning an enriching experience for students in primary schools, so that they can carry forward their passion when they go to the higher classes as well, and don't forget about it because they have studies.
STEM concept is such a beautiful concept, Namya. It brings together the real world problems, to see it from an interdisciplinary perspective. STEM is not so much a topic based study as it is an approach to teaching and learning the subjects of science, technology, engineering, and math. STEM activities use all of these subjects together to solve real life problems. We can have an option of STEM club, maker space, etc. Are some of the examples where students gather sources to solve real world problems, and in the process develop an approach of understanding the problem, inquiring and researching about the same, and then develop a deeper understanding of the problem, brainstorm ideas, shortlist ideas that best suits to solve the problem, working on the solutions and testing and making changes in the solutions according to their self assessment, as well as of the feedback received from the user that they are solving the problem for. These kind of activities help them to establish a connection between various disciplines and make their learning more meaningful, long lasting, and engaging. And probably that love for learning should carry on when they move on to the higher classes.
Yes, ma'am, it's been there for me since the beginning, because I still remember we used to have a STEM class once a week when we were in seventh standard, but we couldn't go to school this year, so I kept on missing it. But still, I remember the concepts we'd learned, how we can use problem solving, creativity. So that's what I keep on using in my projects and also in my group projects, so that we all can communicate and create something that people can have fun with doing and also benefit them. So these are some of the concepts that STEM always teaches you, and you never forget them. So how can assistive technology help in STEM education? If you can throw some light on this on the basis of the experiences that you've had, and I'm sure you've had many, ma'am, because you've been using STEM.
Yeah, yeah. Assistive technology, it increases the independence and functioning of the people with physical and cognitive challenges. So, the students who are physically challenged or cognitively challenged. So, but technology is a tool that empowers them to be at the class level, and obviously their challenge should not come into the way of their learning. They are equipped to learn, they are prepared to learn. So to overcome this challenge, any kind of technology or the tool which is being used can be regarded as assistive technology. Some of the examples of assistive technology includes tools and technology for mobility, visual, cognitive challenges, and hearing challenges, such as even a small thing like a walking stick with sensors can work as a tool for a person with visual impairment. So, and many other tools like magnifiers to magnify the text, reader, writer, speech to text features, There are all tools and technologies that make learning accessible for learners. See, learning is one thing, but to make it accessible, then to decide on how the learner is responding to it. But to be able to respond to the learning, it needs to be accessible to the learner. So these assistive technology tools help in making learning accessible. And Microsoft has worked a lot in this field, and they have addressed each and every disability in to help students with different challenges uh, come to a platform where they get integrated into inclusive classrooms. And to make learning accessible for them, you can find out the details of all these the tools that Microsoft has, tools and technologies, from our YouTube channel, Wellbeing Mantra in detail. We have made 3 episodes because the list was endless and tremendous work has been done in this field. In, excuse me. In education world, we have been talking about universal design for learning. And when I say for learning, there are two types of learning. One is for learning and one is off learning. When we talk about for learning, it gives the user, or it gives the learner the freedom to experiment with learning, come to a conclusion, interpret the information, derive information. All that kind of thing is done for learning. Universal design for learning can be adopted as one stop place to make classroom inclusive along with STEAM approach. When we talk about universal design of education framework, it involves 3 steps or 3 aspects, which are multiple means of engagements. It caters to the why of learning. If learner understands why he or she is learning, what he or she is learning, then their interest or level of engagement in the learning enhances, thus contributing towards meaningful learning. The second aspect is multiple means of representation. That means same information is being represented in multiple ways, which also caters to the diversity of the classroom, of how my learners learn. I represent my information that way, so that becomes easier for them to interpret. This deals with the what of learning. And if why of learning is being taken care of, it is easy to address and understand what of learning. Then multiple means of expression, which involves how of learning. So it empowers learners to express themselves through the medium they are comfortable expressing themselves, which gives them a confidence to believe in their abilities and makes learning accessible for all. So technology plays a very vital role in empowering students to get engaged in learning, and represents and expresses their learning, as it also provides multimodality. When I say multimodality, it is multiple modes of learning. Multimodality helps students gain in-depth understanding, as there are various ways to enhance students' learning according to their needs. This is what I thought should go into assistive technology. Anything and everything that helps in assisting students to access information and to learn meaningfully is assistive technology, as per me.
Well said, ma'am. And that's totally a secondable statement that technology can help everyone to become empowered leader of tomorrow. So, thank you so much, ma'am. And it was such a pleasure to have you here listening to the wonderful ideas that you shared for our teachers, students, and all the audience here. So, I'm sure they would love to know that where can they find you online.
Sure, Namya. I am on Twitter. My Twitter profile is at Gunjan Tomar 7. You can find me on Facebook. I'm there on LinkedIn too, and Instagram too. I'll share the details with you. You can put the same in the description. Thank you so much, dear.
Thank you, ma'am. And as this podcast is about each one teach 10, an amazing world of STEM, so I would like to ask you that according to you, how can we use this concept of each one teach 10 in STEM education more effectively using social emotional learning and inclusion?
This is such a beautiful concept that you have started, Namya. I am, completely, it is such a beautiful concept to have each one teach 10. If all of us start thinking that way, we can bring so much of change in the world. I was also thinking it from your perspective, and when I heard, your podcast series by the name of Each One Teach 10 in STEM, what came to my mind instantly was it is such a wonderful approach to show our responsibility towards others, the people who live in, the people who do not get a privilege of accessing education the way we are accessing it. So, and you also know, Namya, you are a student who also believes that you are giving back to the society. You are motivating so many students, and I'm sure it wouldn't have been possible if we teachers are there, but how students get inspired from other students is something uh, which is altogether a different story. So buddy teaching strategy can help in ensuring learning the STEAM education as students learn best from their peers. Opportunities of collaborative tasks can also help in enhancing understanding of STEM education addressed in classrooms. You people can learn from each other when we give them too many collaborative tasks which are related to real life real world problem solving. So definitely, we all have some highs and some lows. We all have some strengths and some weaknesses, and that's an opportunity. Collaboration is an opportunity to learn from each other. So where there is something where I can see your concept of each one teach 10 in STEM comes into picture. And also we hold some responsibility towards the marginalized section of our community, the children who are not as privileged as us in terms of accessing the information. We do say that education is the right to all, but we also know that there are children who would like to get education but are not in a state to get education. So making marginalized elementary STEM education a mandatory part of community service project as a school initiative can also, on one hand, empower the students who are taking their learning to the next levels. If I am a student, I am teaching a child from a marginalized section. So it is enhancing my understanding of the concept. At the same time, I am empowering other also to think it the STEM way. And also, it enables maximum reach of STEAM education for marginalized section, even to the students who are not officially enrolled in schools. So, such a beautiful concept of each one teach 10 in STEM is like amazing. And you are wonderfully, doing this work. And, I am so thankful to you for motivating so many students and influencing so many students and taking learning to a different level. Thank you so much, Namya.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I would surely say that something very magical happens in those classrooms where we have caring teachers like you, Ms Gunjan, who celebrates diversity and are truly committed and believe truly in inclusive teaching learning. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for coming onto my podcast and sharing your insights with our audience.
Thank you so much, Namya. Thank you for your kind words, dear. And it's always a pleasure to get associated with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you everyone for listening to this podcast. And I shall see you in the next one. Till then, each one teach 10. Have a nice day.